Your Honor, Meredith Groff appearing for Yudira Godina, the mother. And we.
Jeff Hill on behalf of Roberto Lara. Judge, he's not present. I haven't had any contact with him since the last hearing. Last hearing, he was in the Potter County Jail, and I don't see him there anymore. I haven't heard from him since. So,
Jace Zavala on behalf of the boys.
And probably everybody's figured this out, but Ms. Godina is logged in also under Ms. Groff's name, but she is present. Okay, then let's see, who are we gonna have an update from? Mr. Ryan?
Mr. Ryan, yeah.
So yeah, the kids are doing well in placement. They're thriving. They're happy. Jace just got accepted into his special education for pre-K, and his therapies are still ongoing as well. For his special education autism, but the kids are both, like I said, kids are both doing good in therapy, and they're thriving.
Okay, and what about parental progress?
Mom has just completed TPC with Linda Dudley on June 11th. She's completed parenting as well, DV as well. Individual therapies are still ongoing, and the mental health sessions are also ongoing.
All right, what are we good on housing and job and transportation?
She does have a house through HUD. She does have a job right now as well, and she currently does not have transportation. Dad is in TDCJ jail right now as well.
Okay, do you know what unit he's in?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Judge, I think I looked it up to that. I want to say the Lindsay unit, down in Jacksboro, I think is where it is.
Okay, so he's obviously transferred out then.
Yes,
Mr.
yes, ma'am. I think he was transferred out end of April.
Okay. All right, just trying to give Mr. Hill some help on where to locate him.
Yes, ma'am. And I believe that was the unit I saw for him.
All right, and prior to his incarceration, Mr. Ryan, had he worked any services?
No, ma'am. Yeah, he had not. I had given him a parenting and anger management packet in when he was here in Potter, and I had yet to receive those back.
All right, and so as far as mom's compliance, she's in compliance with her service plan.
Yes, ma'am. She's
Okay.
she's been compliant with St. Francis.
All right, and so she has completed a relapse prevention plan, I think I read, and her drug screens have been negative, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Judge, I got a few questions.
Mhm.
Mr. Ryan, do you know have you discussed contact with mom and dad since dad was transferred out?
I have not discussed that with her. She last time we have talked about it, she told us all that she had not. She
Okay.
would quit the contact with that. Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was in the last hearing. She said that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Darren, you said that she's still ongoing with her mental health
Yes, sir.
treatments and stuff. How are those going? Have you received any notes? Therapy and stuff?
They are going well. She's starting to mention some of the things that she does struggle with in terms of her mental health. And this last recent session that she did have, Stephanie reported that she did mention, started to mention calls that she did have with dad in prison. So that was a plus, but those are ongoing as well. So there's not a specific amount that she has to complete. She just has to keep going till she's discharged.
Okay, all right. But she is starting to open up more, and they're trying to make some progress on some of that.
Yes, sir. I do want to mention that she did call dad during the face-to-face visit as well. At their last in-person visit that they had in Abilene, when placement her met halfway.
Okay. Anything else as far as mom that we need to discuss?
I don't believe so at this time.
Okay. we had a home study ordered on grandparents.
Yes, sir.
And what is the status of that home study?
As far as I know, is denied. The reason being, I'm not sure. I don't approve or deny the home studies.
Okay, all right. And I believe I got an email last night waiting on a redacted file, redacted copy so that it can be e-filed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But the home study was denied.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Judge, I don't know if we want to get into it. I got an email from Ms. Sessions on a list of why it was being denied. I don't know if we want to go through that or just wait till it's filed and everybody can look at it.
Well, are they the kind of things that could possibly be corrected, or are we talking about a lot of problems?
There's some pretty good problems as far as grandparents when they were raising mom. Mom was removed. There's a bunch of RBTs, or at least a couple, and some pretty serious ones. Then there was some multiple arrests as far as grandfather throughout the years from 2000 up to 2016. Some domestic violence issues in there. I don't know the outcomes of those cases. I just know he did have arrests for multiple, at least 3 of the 5 were domestic violence against family members. Neither grandparent has any knowledge or experience with dealing with a child with autism. Grandmother runs her business, a hair salon, out of the house and out of one of the bedrooms in the house. They can't verify incomes. They got a 24-year-old son that I believe lives freely in the house with them. So some of the things could be fixed. Some of them, as far as the past history on this, I don't believe can be.
Okay, well, since it hasn't been filed yet, then obviously no one else has had an opportunity to look at it. So why don't we kind of just table it, let everybody take a look at it, and then if anybody wants to have a placement hearing on that, then you can let us know and we can get something scheduled.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'll take a look at it in advance, and so we can discuss it.
Yes, ma'am. And on that, Your Honor, I haven't even seen it. This is just a kind of a rundown of what I got from my clients on it. So,
gotcha. I understand. That just gives me just a generic idea of kind of what the issues are. So
yes,
okay.
ma'am.
All right. All right then. Anything else, Mr. Ryan or Mr. Trout? Any further questions?
Ms. Ryan, how are visitations going right now? What are we looking at on those?
From what I've received from placement, it kind of varies. The in-person visit that she recently just had was fairly positive. The one that, and I did supervise that one as well.
Okay.
The ones in regards to Zoom that she has on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they fluctuate. I've heard from placement that, because placement do see and watch her interact with the children as well. And I have gotten notes from the visit monitors themselves. Those aren't specifically detailed, but what I've had from placement is what they've told me. That there's days that mom has her days where she's not very interactive with the children. That she just came home from work and she's been very tired, for instance. And that's kind of a little bit of a concern too, because the visits are 30 minutes long, virtually. And I know it is hard with kids, being so little and all. But in the beginning, she was doing very good. Like she was singing to him, reading to him, and maintaining that kind of connection. And that kind of diminished over time, is what was been reported to me.
Okay. All right. But you said there was an in-person visit recently? There
was, yes, sir. Placement came down here last weekend,
okay.
Or last week, I should say. And we had a visit on Friday, I believe it was. So they flew down here Thursday, left, had the visit Friday, left Friday night.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And let me just take the opportunity so I don't fail to do it, but to placement. Thank you all so much for your, above and beyond efforts in this regard as far as trying to facilitate visitation between mom and the children. I truly, truly appreciate what you all have done. Okay, Ms. Groff.
Thank you, Your Honor. I talked to Ms. Yudira recently, and she did tell me about all the different services that she's completed and those that they're still ongoing. And it appears to me that she's doing a really great job. She's working really hard. She told me that she's cut off contact with the father. She recognizes that he's a toxic individual and he can't be in her life anymore. She is very committed to her sobriety, and she's working on getting a vehicle. There's a fellow she works with who has a truck that just needs a new battery. So she's been saving up so that she can buy this truck from her coworker. So she is working on a transportation plan. She understands that with her children's needs and whatever, she is going to have a vehicle. And just walking from where she lives, I saw her house because I took her home from her job one night because we had a visit over at her job when her shift was over, and she lives a ways away. So if she were to walk, it would be like 30 minutes. And so she understands that she really needs that vehicle. So that's a big goal for her right now, is to get the vehicle. She's doing great in her job. We got wage stubs provided. Her manager was able to send me a couple of wage stubs, and I got those over to Mr. Ryan this week. And if there's any need for any more, I can certainly get those to him. But she enjoys her coworkers. She's in good standing with her manager. So it's a great opportunity for her to have a community that is clean and sober and committed to working and self-support. I know one of the big problems that people have when they come out of an addiction and a use type of situation is it's hard to find a new community. And I believe that her job is providing her coworkers are providing her a new community so that she can be around people who are also positively focused on doing good things in their own lives. And I think that's really important for her ongoing success. I would like to ask the court to consider more visits for her. I know it's a big issue for the placement to have to provide in-person visits for her, but I think that it's very hard to interact with a baby and a toddler, especially the toddler who has autism. I know young children, it's hard generally for young children to interact on Zoom, but especially her children where she's got a baby and a toddler with autism. Zoom is just not going to be a good format for visits. And to the extent that more visits could be done in person, I think that would be really good. This was the first in-person visit she'd had in several months. And I think that's really hard for a parent of young children as well as for the young children to not have seen their mother in such a long time. So that is what we'd like to see. And to the extent that the visits could be less supervised, more monitored, that would be also helpful. I think she's doing a good job in all aspects of her life. We talked about the counseling and how, her part in how this case started, and she's very well aware of the choices that she made and choices she's made previously in her life that got her to where she is now. And she doesn't want to continue with that. She wants to make a change in her life, and she's been working hard to make those changes. And I think that the court can see just from Mr. Ryan's report that she's doing very well. And I do believe that she's going to continue to do well as we move forward in the next few months in this case. So I think that generally the court should recognize that she's making great progress. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share all this with the court today. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question, because at our last hearing, I had, I had indicated that I really wanted her to participate in some of the therapies with Jace. Mr. Ryan, you may be the one to answer that. I don't know. Replacement may be the one, but how did that go?
I talked to her name's Haley, the one that does Jace's therapies. I talked to her, and Yudira. One thing that she did hit was that Yudira didn't want she didn't want her to interrupt during those therapies that much. She just wanted to just strictly watch and see how it goes, and see how it is. You know what I mean? But she's been to 3 so far. That's what she reported to me yesterday.
Okay, and so we're going to continue with that.
Yes, and I might also add, she was doing substance abuse on Mondays. Jace has his therapies Mondays and Wednesdays, so she wasn't able to get to the Monday ones. That being said, now that she's done with the substance abuse classes, she will be able to, as far as I understand, she'll be able to attend the Mondays and Wednesdays now. That shouldn't be a problem. But she was only able to attend mainly Wednesdays because that schedule conflicted with one of her other services that she had to complete for us.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So that, I mean, I'm glad she's going to get to participate in more of those. All right, and you know, I just don't know. I'm not sure how we can accommodate more in person. You know, we've talked about this before. I mean, kids are in a great placement, and we don't want to disrupt that. Mr. Ryan, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. I also did speak to placement, and they are willing to come down at least twice a month. From the last time I did speak to them in person when we had the visit last week. And they said if it would be possible, if they could, if they do that, if they could get a little bit of help in regards to that. I just said that I would have to ask for sure, but they are willing to come at least twice a month to do an in-person visit while continuing the virtual visits as well.
Okay, that's remarkable. I mean, can we assist
Wonderful.
them? Are you all talking about driving, flying?
I would have to staff with my supervisor on that. I don't exactly know how to answer that question right now.
Miss Sessions, any?
I'm not sure what kind of financial assistance there is available, but we do have a couple of different departments within St. Francis that have monies available. So I would just have to look further into that and see what that assistance would look like. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes, but we can definitely look to see what kind of reimbursement we can put in place for them traveling with the children.
Okay. I think if there's anything that we can do, I mean, it's an extremely generous offer and a lot of their time and so yeah, if we can do it, that's great. I mean, I would think, Ms. Groff, that would be phenomenal if we could do that twice a month. I'm not going to hold them to it. I mean, if there may be some months where that's just not feasible. So, let's do it if we can. And if St. Francis can assist in some ways, that's even better. But I'm not gonna order them to do it, twice a month. I just don't, number one, I'm not sure really. I feel like I can do that, but I think that's overreaching. But if we can do that, that would be wonderful. And maybe those visits can, I don't know where y'all did them before, but they're, I don't know if you're doing like at a park or, somewhere where there's a playground or, whatever. I would think supervision, of those can be obviously, doesn't have to be somebody's right next to the children at all moments, give mom some time and some independence with the kids. But anyway, I appreciate it again. I can't thank you all enough for your willingness to do that. All right, Mr. Hill, anything to report?
No, ma'am.
All right, then Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, I just have a clarification question. Sean, our last hearing was on the 22nd. And you were saying that the first in-person visit on the 11th, mom had FaceTime dad and put the kids on with dad?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then I couldn't tell from the notes, are you saying that happened again last week?
No, sorry. That was not
Okay.
last week. Yeah, that was just I believe April 11th was the last visit. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it was during that visit that they met in Abilene that occurred.
Okay, so it's not that it happened again
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
at the recent.
And I was supervising the most recent visit, so that did not occur at all.
Okay. Your Honor, in terms of thoughts and recommendations, I'm extremely thankful to placement. I feel like they've gone over and above. I am impressed with what mom has done and continues to do, and I hope she continues to do that. I'm really glad that she's been able to participate in the ECI or the therapy stuff. And I feel like that's really pretty key in this, is her learning as much as she can from those therapies so that she can implement that herself. I don't know if there's any kind of way that we could do a session maybe where Jace isn't there and it's just mom and the therapist talking about questions and strategies and like more interactive. I don't know if there's a way to set that up. It sure seems like that would be helpful. I mean, it's great for her to watch what's going on, but I think it would be really helpful to have that interaction with a therapist about, okay, when I have him, what do I need to do? What are some skills? So I don't know if it's possible to set up, some sessions with her directly. And I honestly don't know how to handle the more in-person visits. I mean, I do know that placement has offered, but I think that may be contingent on some financial support. It is a huge financial hit every time they come here. And I don't know that they can do that without some assistance. I don't know if this is a case that groups like Amarillo Angels or something who work with foster placements, if they might have any resources to help with some things like that. I have no idea. But I can reach out and see if that might be a possibility. Because it is going to be important for her to have more contact. I just don't know how to structure that. Oh, you're on mute, Judge.
I don't know if it would be beneficial to get CASA into the case. I don't know that, don't know that they could assist with that. I just don't know the answer to that. But I might just contact one of the directors over there and visit about that and just see if they've got any funding that could assist us with that.
Judge, there also is there's Amarillo Angels, but there's also Austin's Angels. So that might be something else that we could look into that could assist the foster family since they live in Austin.
Okay. All right. I will check with CASA if you all will follow up with the Amarillo Angels and or Austin Angels. And just see what we can find out. And then I'll just report back to either Ms. Zavala and or Ms. Sessions or both. About what I find out. Okay. So we'll see what we can do and what we can come up with.
Yes.
All right.
In your honor, if I may, if I could ask Ms. Godina a couple of questions.
Sure. Ms. Godina, can you unmute for me?
Okay. Yes.
And I didn't know, your honor, if we were swearing her in today or not.
I'll swear her in if you want to.
Okay, yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Ms. Godina, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear from the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may proceed.
Ms. Godina, you've heard us talk about visitations, and one of the first in-person visits, you FaceTime with dad, correct?
Correct.
And you did do that.
Yes.
Okay. And you knew you were not supposed to be doing that.
Yes.
Okay. Now that happened on the April 11th visit, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. We had a hearing on the 23rd of April, so a couple weeks later. It was put on the record at that point that you were not having any contact with Dad, correct?
Correct.
Are you having contact with Dad now?
I had cut off contact with him
When?
since the last court hearing because, like, even it took me a while, but I finally realized. I'm sorry. Because I finally realized that everything I've done has been for them. And I decided that I do not want him in my life anymore because every time I spoke to him, it was unhealthy. And I was always stressed. I was always angry. So I had to completely, I mean, it was hard for me to stop. And then I finally came to, I actually had the, I had the strength to stop contact with him because I now know that my kids are more important than him. And everything I've done has always been for my kids. So if I have to reassure you guys, I will. And I promise I don't want to go back to that lifestyle. I don't want him in my life. I don't want him with my children. Because I worry about their safety and for mine.
Okay.
So I haven't talked to him since, and I don't plan on doing that anymore. I don't plan on having him in my life anymore.
And Ms. Godina, I hope that is sincere and that happens. We've had a couple of times in this case where you've told us that you have cut off contact with him.
I mean, I
Like this
understand.
instance.
I am sorry, and I have lied. Yes, I have told you that I stopped, but I'm telling you sincerely from my bottom of my heart that I am telling you the truth this time, that I don't talk to him whatsoever.
Okay. And you're telling us today you've had no contact with him since he went to state prison.
Yes, sir.
The last contact with him was the day before he shipped out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I subpoena those records from the state, I'm not going to see your number or any contact or visitation logs with you.
No, you won't.
Okay. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Godina?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Godina, let me just say, and it's, I really hope that you have put him in the rearview mirror because he's done nothing but cause problems for you. Not only in this case, but in many other respects. But the other thing is we don't want you to replace him with another one just like him. And that's what that domestic violence class, is about. And about you not falling into the same pattern again and falling into that situation again. So our concern is not just about, about the father in this case. Our concern is that moving forward, you make better decisions and better choices and that you put your children, at the very highest priority when you make decisions. So you understand what the concern is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
And Judge, on that line of questioning, the only reason I wanted to ask those questions was if we're going to be going to more in-person visits and stuff, our concern is the constant telling us not in contact and then is actually in contact when we pull the calls. So as long as everything's going good like it is, the monitored in-person visits are fine, but I just don't want to find out again that we're having this issue.
Yeah, it's Ms. Godina. I mean, let me tell you, I don't know how many times this happens, but I have a parent tell me that, oh, they're not having any contact, but these people have special investigators and people that are professionals at snooping around and finding out about things. And so, you know, if you're having contact, that all gets recorded through the prison system. You know, that includes incoming mail, that includes any telephone contact. You know, I don't even know what you would be even permitted to have with him, but certainly if you went to visiting, you know, and so they keep records of all that stuff. So, you know, if you go back on what you're telling us and you have that kind of contact, let me just assure you, somebody's gonna find out about it. And then they're gonna do just exactly what's happened in, you know, prior hearings and this. You're gonna get confronted with that and you're gonna get caught in a lie. And, you know, the longer that goes into this case, the more serious the consequences of that become. Yeah. I think everybody here understands that when you're trying to get out of that situation, it's very difficult at first. So I think we all feel that there's a little grace to be given to you to try to work through it. And that's what we need to see, that you are working through it and that you are sticking by what you tell us you're going to do. So, okay. Anybody have anything further?
I have nothing further, John.
All right, then today I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator of both children, and I'm going to continue their placement. I find that there would be a continuing danger to return the children home to the mother at this time. Obviously, we can't return the children to the father. And that mother is in compliance with her family plan of service. Mr. Lara is not. We'll do our very best to try to increase the in-person visits with Ms. Godina as long as everything's going well. Ms. Godina, I encourage you to get as hands-on as you can with Jace's therapist, you know, about the therapies that he gets and all that. I know it's really hard when it's virtual, but you know, if we need to arrange some one-on-one time with her and this therapist, I'm all about it. So, you know, it's one thing to sit back and watch, but it's another to do. And I know you aren't there in person, but try to get as involved in it as you can. Ask questions. You know, I don't think that therapist is going to consider, if you're asking questions, they're not going to consider that an interruption. So, you know, don't hesitate to really get involved in it. Because that all of that is really going to be important when we start talking about sending the kids home. Okay. All right. Obviously, I'm going to expect the department to continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And we will come back for our next review hearing on August 19th of 2025. And that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So, Ms. Godina, just to give you some focus, right now our dismissal date in this case is November 3rd. So what we're looking for is to have all your services completed and you maintaining stability, sobriety, standing on your own 2 feet, you know, showing during your visits that you have learned from some of these therapy sessions, you know, how to help Jace when he has his moments. You know, from this point on, I mean, it's really more about looking at that big picture and what is it going to look like when we send the kids back to mom? Because right now that's the goal and that's what we want to do. So between now and November, I just want you to know what the focus is. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Then I'll see everybody back in August. We'll see how things are going. You know, come August, Ms. Godina, I mean, if things are still going well, I mean, that's the time where we're going to start talking about, can we reunify? Can we get the kids home? Can we work the kids in? You know, and see how you do with them between that point in time and November. So it's you know, what happens between now and August is really important as far as a timeline about when the kids might come home. Okay. I'll see y'all back then. Thank you all very much. I'll check in with CASA about this issue, and then we'll try to email and let everybody know what we find out.
Yes, ma'am. Judge, may I speak to Ms. Sessions before she gets away?
Sure. All right, everybody else is free to go. Thank you all very much, and I hope you all have a good.
Your Honor, I did have Dr. Hansen subpoenaed. She had a family emergency and couldn't be here today. I mean, if we proceed with a final hearing, I do, you know, I think we'll probably need at least a half day for a final hearing. I did kind of rely on the fact that we were going to have a pseudo agreement today, at least with one parent. And plus with, and my concern is that Ms. Castro is not present today. And I would also like for her to be a witness in the case, so.
Well,
I have not.
we're not getting, I mean, you know, we don't seem to be getting a lot of cooperation from the jail where she's at. Do we just need to set this as an in-person trial and have her bench warranted?
I will
Sorry,
possibly,
folks, but, you know,
I would know that information probably, Your Honor. As I was explaining to the attorneys in the breakout room, every time I'm trying to work with the jail, I'm getting a different person and different answers to the same questions. And so there's just kind of some disorganization in the right hand, not knowing what the left hand is doing. And I think at a minimum, if I'm physically there with her, I can make everything happen. Even Zoom or whatever needs to happen. But we would be able to answer that question by, if I can get an appointment for tomorrow, that's what I'm going to do because I have an open day tomorrow. I agreed to circulate an email to let them know what time the appointment is. And if it doesn't work out, we will know by tomorrow and be able to set something with the court.
she's still in Lubbock County.
Yes, Judge. The last information I had was that scheduling order, but Ms. Ebling told me that just today they have posted the resetting of her criminal jury trial for August 15th. And so there's new. I apologize, Ms. Ebling. What did you say?
Retrial is in August. The trial is in December.
Right. So her trial is now set for beyond our dismissal date, I would assume, if it's December. So
We're already past the dismissal date. We called the
Right.
case and we're in recess.
That's correct. And I have, Your Honor, made several attempts to contact the criminal attorney to get that information. I have not been able to connect with him. He did at one day return a phone message by text and say he would call me the next day, but I did not hear from him. She is indicating that some of her concern is coming from what he is telling her regarding her criminal case. And so I'm happy to visit him in person as well if I need to, but I have a whole day tomorrow to
Well, but
apply to it.
that's going to require you to travel. That's going to require you to travel to Lubbock. And, you know, I mean, you're talking about a significant amount of time that the county's going to have to pay and mileage and all of that. I mean, I'm wondering if it's not just easier to set it for an in-person trial and bench warrant her here. You can certainly have time, you know, here to go over the relinquishment with her if she's inclined to sign it. If she isn't, then, you know, then we go trial.
And I'm not opposed to doing anything the court wants to do, Judge. I'll be or do whatever the court thinks is the best. I hate for the other attorneys to have to travel to an in-person trial because of this issue if I could resolve it tomorrow. And I have other cases, Your Honor, in Lubbock that I can set some meetings for tomorrow and stuff in order to make good use of my time. That's not an issue.
Well, I mean, I understand from the standpoint of having other witnesses brought in that it's nice to know in advance whether we have the relinquishment or not. But
Right.
I mean, you know, this is the second time we're ready to go, and we're still facing the same problem. So
yeah,
at a point, I'm trying to work with her.
I get it. And I put a significant amount of time toward it yesterday. Miss Katie even reached out, and we were working on it at the time she reached out. And I've been very frustrated in that I think I have the same thing that the court just expressed. We think we have it worked out and everything's ready to go, and then all of a sudden something gets said. She doesn't understand, or we have to start over because there's a shift change and this new officer coming on doesn't agree with what we were told by the previous officer. Just several things here and there.
So, I mean, and I'm sorry about it, guys, but there's, no one ever promised we were never going to have an in-person hearing. So, I'm very inclined to just set it as an in-person hearing, bench warrant her. So they've got to bring her over here. And then we'll have her here. We know she's here for trial. We know she's here where you can talk to her. We know she'd be here where we can control having witnesses and a notary and, all of the above, which, on any given day in any jail, you may or may not be able to arrange. So
Sure.
I really feel like that at this point, I mean, the case has got to move forward. And so I
Yes.
think that's surest way to make
Your Honor.
sure that it happens whenever we gather together next time.
Right.
Your,
And
Your Honor, I do have a question. Would we be able to bring witnesses by Zoom, like in a hybrid kind of thing? Because I really hate to ask Dr. Hansen.
I mean, guys, I don't know how we would do that down here. We could spread out all over the courthouse, I suppose, but we can't
Okay.
all Zoom from in here. You know what's going to happen. There's going to be all kinds of feedback. I mean, we would have to get very creative about how we would do it. These courthouses are not set up for that. So, I mean, there's a jury room. There's probably some other rooms in the courthouse. I could go back in judges' chambers. Somebody could be here in the courtroom, but that would be the only way we could do this by Zoom. And
Judge, I certainly do not.
I'm just trying to think through how we would do it. She's going to be in custody party.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a bailiff here
Yeah.
at all times with her.
And Judge, I truly, truly do not mind going and trying to get it in person. Even if we set it and plan all that, I would still be willing to make the attempt to do that. I have lots of reasons to be in Lubbock besides just this case. So I can't imagine it would cost the county any more than what it would for me to have just any meeting with one of my clients that took a little bit of time. But I know that we're also nervous and would like to set a backup plan or whatever. I just I want to help however I can, because one of the reasons that I'm concerned about this, Judge, is it concerns me anytime a client tells me everything's good, everything's good, everything's good, and then suddenly they tell me they don't understand. It selfishly makes me concerned for the outcome for me if I'm not there in person with another person to witness, everything that was done, so on and so forth. I don't want to have anyone say after the fact that I got them to sign something they didn't understand and that I wasn't available for them.
No, I understand. I mean, so let me just ask, I mean, big number one question is, Ms. Taylor, depending on the date, are you willing to come down here to take this?
Sorry, I never unmute. I don't know how to do it. Yeah, I mean, if it works in my calendar, I can come down there.
Okay, so Ms. Katie, I want you to look at some days. I mean, Ms. Grant, I'm not gonna prohibit you from going and trying to get it done.
Thank you, Judge.
Then that's great. Then everybody else can appear by Zoom, and I'll come back here and we'll do it. We won't have to bench warrant her over, but we're still struggling with the fact that this, if not just today, but I think on a prior occasion, the jail didn't get her on by Zoom with us.
Yes.
And so, we've got Ms. Nunez here today. you know, I mean, this has happened to us a couple times, and, you know, the county's got to pay them, you know, regardless whether they ever utter or translate a word. And so I'm just trying to make sure that whenever we've got to move forward, we can do it. And
I
that
agree, Judge.
we have all the principles here that we need. I mean, even if she executes a relinquishment, she still has a right to be here.
Yes, I understand.
She could waive her right to be here, but, you know, from an appellate standpoint, you know, I would want something very specific probably in writing and filed that she's waiving her right to appear at the final because she's relinquished. And
I agree. I agree with the court, Judge. Even even if I get the relinquishment tomorrow, I have and again, I'm sorry, I know it sounds selfish, but I have a big concern that something could come back on me if I'm not if I'm not very careful as to how far I document everything that she's agreed to.
well, and I mean that's certainly a concern, and I appreciate that and understand that. The other concern is I don't want I don't want it all undone on an appeal because all of a sudden she says she didn't waive her right to be present at trial.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm just so sorry that the court drove today, Judge.
Well, we have another final, so
Okay.
my understanding is it's going to move forward. So it's not, you know,
Right.
it's not wasted. I just want to, whatever we're going to do next, because of the history and of the problems that we've had with this, I just want to make sure that no matter what, it's going to happen that day.
Okay.
So
Looks
I
like
think
Miss
the
Katie's
safest
gonna-
bet is to set it in person, and I think it's to have her bench warranted. And probably regardless of whether she relinquishes or not.
And I can send that over to the court today for signature. That's not a problem at all.
So, you know, if then you can subsequently get her waiver in writing that she's waived her right to appear because she's relinquished, then I can probably live with that. And I would think that the Court of Appeals should be able to live with that.
And Miss Katie sent out July 3rd. I'm available, and Miss Ferguson is if Jim.
I can't do that.
Oh, gotcha.
I can't do it that fast.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are final hearing dates in Lubbock, always Tuesday and on Thursdays, and then Tuesdays are adversaries and permanency hearing dates. So those are going to be difficult. I don't have hearings those days, but that's kind of unusual.
So we have a problem with stuff on the 17th.
I have several like continued finals in Terry County that have to go.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, we may be looking at towards the end of July.
I have the 22nd, 23rd, or 24th.
Yeah, those, we have Potter County on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the issue.
That's right. So I
And
have
then-
I have the 30th, Rach, which is a Wednesday.
I can't do the 30th.
Okay.
What's the court's next?
I have plans to be out of town for the 4th holiday weekend, and I'll be gone already on the 3rd. And so I'm
Gotcha.
And honestly, that might be difficult for witnesses. I mean,
I suspect it would be.
I can do the 6th of August.
See, we have until the 12th. That's the 90-day window for the recess.
Okay.
Oh, but
this one's in recess. I know, but I know one of them is. It was.
We did an order
you
to
did an
retain.
extension. That's
The other
right.
one
Never
is-
mind.
Wait. You guys are talking all over each other. Ms. Katie, go ahead.
Well, they did do an extension order on Alexander's case, so we do have a little bit more leeway with that and resetting the final. But we are in recess though, so.
Yeah. So
Even though we
really
have
need
that,
to-
sorry.
we really need to do it within the 90 days.
What about the 28th? That's Monday, and I usually have Jack's court that day, but I don't have anything on that one Monday.
Well, probably Ms. Taylor does.
Right.
Let me look. On July 24th, what does everyone's schedule look like that day?
I'm not available. I have court in Lubbock and I'm going to be out of town. Thursdays are always final hearings for Jim and me. If not,
Oh, okay.
I'm having issues with juggling our docket and Judge Graham's docket because we
Right.
have to share a court reporter and here and attorneys.
What about Monday, the 21st?
Well, we probably won't have Amy that day because she does reporting for Judge Graham.
I don't see how I could get from Childress on the 23rd all the way out here.
Let me look at that final hearing real quick, Judge. Hold on 1 second.
I've got a final in Childress County that maybe if I could come here in the afternoon.
Or on the 21st, I might can find somebody to do Graham's because it'll be Zoom. Sometimes I can get Jody to do those. Before I say that, let me look real. July 21st, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Judge, they reached an agreement on a mediation on that Childress County final. Just a heads up. on
So
that one.
it'll be short.
It'll be incredibly short. And I can even ask them if they could possibly get an agreed order. If we
That
can't
would
work
be
the
even
21st.
better, so that
So my my permanency specialist who kind of need as a witness on this case is going to be out the 17th through the 25th. I mean, and she'll be out of state.
can she appear by Zoom
I can't
during
do the
that time
20th.
frame? Okay.
I could do the 23rd. Did people say that worked?
It doesn't work for me. I'm sorry.
Miss Katie, did you say the 19th is the deadline?
It is August 12th.
August. I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
All right.
Is
The
anybody
fir-
going to advanced family law?
I'm supposed to, but I'm not going to be a fly in the ointment on any of these. I'll attend by video if I need to.
What have we looked at the week of July 28th?
Did someone say they were out on the 30th? I can't remember.
I can't do the 30th,
Okay.
but
Let me pose this question. On the 31st, I have a Potter County docket, but it's looks like it's probably mostly after finals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fairly short right now. I wouldn't have to be in the county. I mean, I could come here. I could get those done, and we could start. After
how long do we think it will be? I just need to be somewhere about 3 o'clock that day.
I would say a half day, but I would defer to Miss Ferguson.
I think a half day is a reasonable estimate.
We have no Lubbock finals that day.
So here's my inclination is we would set this case like at probably like 10:30 to be safe. I would like for everybody to be present at the courthouse at 10 to do whatever y'all need to do while I'm working on that Potter docket. And then maybe we can get going right about 10:30. And that should give us plenty of time. Miss Taylor, you have to be somewhere at 3.
I need to be back in Amarillo about 3.
Okay. That would give us until say 10:30 to 1:30. I can't imagine it would take longer than that. Well, unless she doesn't relinquish.
Right.
Maybe what we could do is maybe I could move the Potter stuff to after this.
Start earlier.
Mhm.
I can start anytime on that day.
Miss Katie, what do you think about that if we move that all those Potter hearings to the afternoon?
That should be fine, Judge. I can send an email out and make sure that Daniel and Stacy are available.
Yeah, I mean, it gives us plenty of time. We've got lots of time now and then to give everybody notice.
And some of these that are set that day, they have a history of being agreed. So they may
Yeah.
not even happen. So I'll send an email out right now.
Yeah, that's the other reason. But so let's set this at 9. And I know it's early, but it'd really be helpful if everybody could be here gathered around 8:30. Harder for those of us in Amarillo than Lubbock, but
And Judge, if I
buy everybody breakfast. How about that?
there you go. Now, if I do get the relinquishment and we bench warrant it there, could everybody but myself and my client appear by Zoom?
Probably so, yes.
That
If
way,
if she waives appearance, then we can do it by Zoom.
okay.
And if Your Honor, contained in the relinquishments that most people sign, there is a waiver of appearance.
Right.
But I'm happy to double it up and get an individually signed waiver if that's important.
If the language, you can look at the language as it's drafted in the relinquishment. If you think it's sufficient, then I'm good with it.
Okay. Well, I will work very hard to try to make sure we don't need this, but I'm happy we have a plan B ready to go.
Now, if you do get a relinquishment anytime soon, I would certainly rather see if there isn't sometime we could all get together by Zoom and do this sooner than August.
Yes.
So if you do get that relinquishment, anticipate everybody may be getting an email that says, okay, we want to move this up
Yes. I will circulate
before July 31st.
I will circulate updates by email as I work the issue.
All right. So the plan will be now for a reset on July 31st. We'll call the case at 9, but everybody to assemble around 8:30. And then if we get a relinquishment and waiver of appearance, then we will try to move it up and all the rest of you can appear by Zoom.
And I am, Judge, going to go ahead today and send that request for the bench warrant over to your office, just so we have that in place immediately.
Yeah, I think that's smart to do. So, okay. I think that's the best backup plan that we can come up with.
Okay.
So then that gives Ms. Ferguson plenty of time to deal with her witnesses and you know, if you do get the relinquishment, then, you know, we can get those people released, and
Okay.
I may not have to shift my Potter docket and, you know, all that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'll try very hard. The only thing I think that would stop me is if we continue down this path of, yes, I'll do it, and then I don't understand. And if I don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling from the answers, I'll definitely let everyone know immediately.
Yeah. And I recognize the fact she could get here and then she could ultimately, you know, execute it here at the courthouse and everybody's traveled, but that's just life in the fast lane, guys.
And Your Honor, I just have a practical question about witnesses by Zoom. I mean, if we're all in person, can we just have the witness on Zoom?
Yes, but what I'm saying is we'll have to spread out all over the courthouse because of the feedback issue.
But we could all like it on, if I could figure out how to put it on a screen.
You can do that, but how the audio with that witness.
But if
that many devices in this one room.
But what
we'll
I'm
have
proposing
terrible
is only
feedback.
one device for the witness to be on, and we're all in person.
And we move back and forth between being in front of the screen.
We could possibly set it on a podium or somewhere centrally located, and as it's each attorney's time to question. Okay, hang on.
Sorry.
I got it. My internet was unstable. Okay, let me start over. We could try setting up a central device and letting each of you come to that device to question the witness. You know, it's going to get a little tricky if there are objections, and you know, I guess we can do that, but everybody come prepared with the device in case we have to spread out throughout the courthouse to do it.
And Your Honor, I just finished one in Randall County where my client was in Thailand, and I have the equipment to do that where each person just has a little clip-on lapel mic, and I use it through my iPad. So I'd be happy to bring my items if we need it.
Okay, I'll let you talk to Ms.
Thank
Ferguson
you.
about that. And
Thank you,
yeah,
Stacy.
Sure, no problem.
we just don't, these smaller counties, they just don't have the technology for it. So, but there's enough little cubby holes and little rooms and things here and there that we can probably squirrel everybody away and make it work.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's just 1 hour of a witness's time versus, you know, 2-3 hours with drive time. So,
yeah. Okay. All right, then. I didn't officially call the cases. We can just remain in recess. Everybody comfortable with not having an official record of the reset?
Yes, Judge.
yes.
I'll have Miss
Yes.
Katie send it out just to confirm, as a confirmation, but so we're obviously still in recess, and so we will be back in person unless otherwise notified on July 31st. Okay, I appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Judge.
All right,
Judge, I
y'all,
have
good
one
luck.
question.
Yes,
If Judge Gurley is in Palmer County on that Thursday, is there another room that you guys can use?
I might be able to use the county judge's chambers, that little courtroom.
Okay, okay.
We just have to see if she doesn't have a jury. We could probably use the jury room.
Okay. I'm asking her right now, so I'll
And,
figure it out.
and this is in
So,
Bailey County, right?
This
So
is
the
Bailey County.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
always
Jeff.
a possibility. We could go to Bailey County instead of doing it here in Parma.
well, this is a Bailey County case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can hear it in either Parma or
Right.
Bailey. So
Oh, okay.
if the Palmer County Courthouse is taken, then we can go to Bailey. Parmer is a little bit closer for us from Amarillo, guys.
Okay.
I
Okay.
know it's maybe a tiny bit further for you guys, but we're kind of trying to meet in the middle here. But
Pam and I had previously discussed, are we able to waive the requirement for you to be in that county if we all sign it, or is that not something we have any ability to do?
I don't think the statute reads where it can be waived.
Okay.
So, okay, then, I've got to be in the district. I can be in a different county as long as it's in the district, but
In the
so
district,
we'll let
okay.
everybody know
Okay.
whether it will be in Parmer or Bailey, and that'll just
Okay.
depend on what's available to us. I'll tell you,
Okay.
the Palmer County Courthouse has got more space and more rooms if we're gonna have to spread out.
Okay.
You guys know what
Yeah.
Bailey's like. It's pretty small.
So I'll wait to send the bench warrant until I get Miss Katie's setting email.
Some of you may be sitting in your cars.
That'd be fine
Or we
too.
can all bring TV trays and just spread out around on the courthouse lawn.
I love it.
Bring your backup batteries.
And a
Okay,
picnic blanket.
then we'll confirm with everybody where it's gonna be and all that, but we'll see what happens in the next few days.
I'll try very hard.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
okay, thank y'all.